My name is Luke Simons. I'm one of the co-founders of Salt Strong, and we're going to kick you off with the most important video of all. If you're a beginner for inshore saltwater fishing, you might think you have a really long journey that's going to take you years to go from a beginner level to being able to consistently catch your target fish every trip. And the truth is it's not as hard as most people think. It just takes focus on what really matters and not worry about the fluff. So don't worry about going out and today and buying a bunch of expensive equipment. That's not going to help you catch fish. You can have an expensive boat. It's not going to help you catch any fish. It's all about know-how, and we're going to cover the core essentials for a beginner to make sure that you know and understand so that you can move up to the next level. And it all boils down to the 90-10 rule, and that rule is that at any given time, 90% of the fish are going to be in 10% of the water. So if my hand is the area that I'm fishing, at any given time, the fish are going to be in small little segments, and that segment changes based on the conditions. And so we're going to teach you that more in the later levels. But for now, just think about the fact that most of the water, as we look around, most of this water is not going to hold fish. And once we accept that, now we really need to focus on, okay, what will determine the 10% of the water that we need to really look for and always seek out. And as a beginner, where we're really just trying to get some fish catching fun and just not get skunked, is the key for 90-10 in this instance is to think about just two things: current flow and structure. If we have those two things together, there's going to be some predator fish in that area that you can catch, and it's not just going to be catfish. You're going to have some actual good target species. The easiest way to find that combination is to target nearby bridges, docks, or even piers that have at least some access of current flow. As far as structure, it's guaranteed. And my favorite of all are bridges. In most cases, when bridges are being built, there's a lot of rocks and debris that gets dropped on the bottom. Anything other than flat sand is what an ambush predator will use to feed, and that's also what bait fish, shrimp, and crabs use to hide from the predators as well. So if you have any sort of anomalies on the bottom and there's current flow, there will be a ton of fish to be caught. And the easiest way to get action is to take some live shrimp to those zones, because pretty much all inshore predator fish eat live shrimp. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to a nearby bridge, take some live shrimp, and show you exactly the process to use to make sure that you catch fish every single trip. All right, so now for on the water, how it looks. We're fishing bridges. Joe has lure. It's really all about the weedless shrimp. So Joe has a weedless shrimp lure. I have a weedless shrimp with live bait. In this case, I'm just using a J-hook. This is super inexpensive rig. Most importantly, it is extremely effective. And all we're doing is we're getting our lures lure and bait down on the bottom, right around the rocks or the bridge pylon. So Joe has some rocks. So there's some rocks under this section, and I have these fenders over here. I have a lot of different structure, and the fact that we have decent current flow coming through here, along with structure, means that there's going to be a lot of opportunities for catching a variety of different species. And the cool thing about shrimp is that pretty much everything eats it. And so no telling what we're going to be catching doing this.
Oh, there we go.
What we do know is we're going to be catching something.
I'm on.
Joe's on right now. That's on the lure. And so the lure oftentimes weeds out a lot of the smaller fish.
Ooh.
What is that? Oh, big old pigfish. That's actually really good to eat. So it's called a squirrel fish. A lot of people use them for bait, but they actually are delicious. I've started cooking fish whole, and that one in particular is very good.
Slow down, buddy. I got you.
So you've been catching squirrel fish. You can, in the next cast, Joe can catch overslot snook. Right, everything eats shrimp, both big and small.
Talk about tasting good, and thing went crazy.
And so I'm down here. I don't know if you see my rod tip bumping, but I have a bunch of little fish just pecking at it. And what I'm doing is I'm waiting for something bigger. So the small stuff will be bumping at it, and that'll attract the attention of something bigger that'll come down and try to steal an easy meal. Right, peck, peck, peck. I'm waiting for a thump, and then my line to kind of be a little bit taut. I'm waiting on that to set the hook. Right now, there's probably pinfish and small little grunts that are messing with it. If I set the hook right now, they'll probably steal my bait. If they don't have pressure, if they don't have sharp pressure, they usually at least can't steal it super fast. See, I got a little trigger happy there. I might have just lost my bait. Yep, just lost my bait. So let me just show you how to rig this. We'll obviously do it in more detail in future lessons, but just a quick lesson on how to rig it. So I've already pulled the tail off this shrimp. This just gets a lot more scent out in the water. And then it also enables us to get the hook point right in the meat. And we go down just about a 1/4 inch, pop it out the bottom, and then we turn it around and come up through the underbelly into the shrimp. So that way that hook point is underneath the shell. This thing cannot snag onto a rock when it's underneath the shell. And now we have this weight. Usually I use bullet weights, but here it's a little bit deeper. We're in about 30 feet of water, so I got a 1/2 ounce weight just to get it on the bottom. So what it does is just sitting on the bottom. If a sheep's head sees it, if a drum sees it, a grouper, you know, whatever sees it down there is gonna pick it up. And so it's just a matter of kind of luck of the draw, having something big see it before the small fish mess it up. So we're gonna just toss it out there next to that piling, let it sink down on the bottom, and wait and try to feel that thump. And so the cool thing about this type of fishing is you don't need to have a fancy boat. You don't need to have any boat at all. You can be doing this straight from the bridge. Just drop your lure straight down. Obviously, try to use the current to your advantage where you can have the current sweep your baits around some structure down there. There we are, there's a better fish. This might be, still not a giant, but this might be a sheep's head. No, a grouper, little grouper. So again, yeah, you never know what's gonna be. These little grouper fight super hard for their size. This one took a little bit deep, but you can see it just sucked down that shrimp. I'm gonna need to get some pliers to get this guy off.
All right, so all I'm doing is I'm casting up current because the current's coming this way, and it's a little bit shallower over here on this side compared to those fenders, and I'm letting it hit the bottom. And with a 1/2 ounce weight, you will feel it. If you have the right rod, which we talk about in another lesson, you will be able to feel it. And you can even feel, because it's a weedless shrimp rig, it can roll over rocks. You can feel all that stuff when you have a sensitive enough rod, which is really cool. And I'm just waiting for a little, I pop, and then I feel it hit the bottom again. I can literally feel it hit the bottom, and I'm just waiting for that bite. And these grouper, snapper, they hit hard, like you know when you got a bite. Of course, sometimes you might catch a rock, but usually you'll know pretty quickly. And you set the hook and reel her in. And keep going all the way to the boat or kayak or whatever you're in. Oh, I just got hit right there because so many times there'll be some structure and fish right below you.
All right, so lastly, as far as identifying exactly where to fish, the reality is you don't know exactly where the fish are gonna be, obviously, especially if you come up to the bridge for the first time. So what I like to do is I like to target the actual pilings. That guarantees their structure, and some pilings have more or less structure than others on the bottom. So what I'll do is I'll just do a little underhand cast, get it down there close to one of these pilings, and if it's down there for, say, 10, 15 seconds, and I'm not feeling anything pecking at it, that means that there's probably not much structure down there, and I need to move to another one. So don't just let it sit out there in no man's land catching nothing. If you're in no man's land, you're gonna increase the odds of catching catfish. Catfish kind of roam around and find stuff, but if you're around structures, I just cast it down there, my rod is already bounced. Oh, sorry, just missed that one. My rod was already bouncing really quick, right? I just set the hook and I'm already starting to feel them back at it. That means I'm around the structure, there's a lot of fish down there, and now it's just a waiting game, hoping, oh, there we are, that's a better fish. Now it's a waiting game, hoping for something better than just the little grunts and stuff that attack first. It's shocking how fast, yeah, another little grouper. It's shocking how fast the grunts and pinfish attack an injured shrimp when it gets down on the bottom. So that's why it's important to have even a sensitive rod. When starting out, you don't need a sensitive rod, but when you want to get better at knowing exactly when to set the hook, is you'll be able to feel the difference of the little taps from the small little pinfish that are just pecking at it, and then when either grouper, sheep's head, something bigger goes up and eats the lure or eats the bait, you can feel a noticeable difference. But that's it for now. Again, just practice out there. Live shrimp is obviously tough to beat. Pretty much every cast I was having bites within 15 seconds, whereas Joe wasn't getting quite as much. But you can do either way. You don't have to have live bait, but starting out, live bait is definitely an advantage. Think about the 90-10 on every single cast that you're doing. When you find the structure, that's your target area. There's gonna be a lot of fish down there. Even though we caught a handful, I guarantee you there's hundreds of fish in this little zone. And so you just throw another lure out there, and eventually you actually get them feeding more and more if you keep putting baits in that same little area as well. So thank you so much for watching. Any questions at all, comment down below. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next lesson.